What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, Matchroom CEO and promoter Eddie Hearn is now promising that he's gonna get his fighter after all this chaos and all the misunderstandings and all the critique and criticism. His fighter, undefeated IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Jaron Boots Ennis, who has 33 wins, no loss, no draw, 29 wins by way of knockout, 27 years of age, 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach, has received over not accepting a showdown, a mega showdown, a marquee fight with undefeated Mexican superstar junior middleweight WBC interim champion Virgil Ortiz Jr., who has 22 wins, no loss, no draw, 21 wins by way of knockout, 26 years of age, 5'10" with a 70-inch arm reach. They have been linked to one another for years now, Virgil Ortiz, and it was widely viewed as Virgil Ortiz was the one that was not accepting of a fight with Jaron Ennis. And now His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh is now willing to put the money up necessary to make the fight happen for February 22nd at 154, and Jaron Ennis turned it down. And there was some confusion. You had Turki Al-Sheikh, he came out, he stated that Jaron Ennis gave him his word that he was going to fight Virgil Ortiz. Eddie Hearn stated that they informed Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis initially said yes, and then the initial offer was at 147, and Virgil fights at 154. We know he physically can't make 147 pounds. So then it came out that Golden Boy made a mistake in their initial offer to Jaron Ennis, and the offer said 147 when it was meant to be 154. Virgil Ortiz 3 times had health issues trying to make 147 pounds, nearly lost his life and lost his career. He even went back to school because he thought that he wasn't going to be able to continue boxing. Well, he resumed his career and got back on track. And now this is the fight that everybody wants to see. But Jaron Ennis stated that he was only notified 24 hours away from the deadline that he had to agree and move up to 154 or stay at 147. But he was not. There's a misconception that if he moved up to fight Virgil, he was going to lose his IBF title. That's not true. I spoke to the IBF, Mr. Daryl Peoples, the president of the IBF, and they stated that he can move up. All he had to do was inform them that he planned on moving up for one fight and then come back down. He would not be stripped of his title. But Jaron Ennis is saying that physically that would be taxing and not a smart move, because you move up to 54, coming back down, it don't make sense. Your body may not be the same. Your reactions may not be the same. It could be problems. So he stated that, that don't make sense. And that, he wanted to stay at 147 because he's never beaten a world champion and actually took the belt. He was upgraded to the IBF champion after the former undisputed welterweight champion, Terrence Bud Crawford, was stripped of the IBF title, and he was elevated to the IBF champion. So he said that he wants that, achievement, right? Which is very, very understandable. He wants to officially win, a world title and take it from a champion. And he wants to unify the belts. He said, even if he just unifies one time, that's good. He wants to say he did it. And he wants to be undisputed, but if he can't and he only unifies before he move up, then that's okay as well. So there was a lot of confusion. And now Eddie Hearn comes out, and Eddie Hearn, because many people are saying, myself included, if you are not going to get a marquee fight at 147, you're not going to get one of the champions at 147, it don't make sense to stay there and fight B-level fighters. It doesn't do anything for your career at 27 years of age with 30 plus fights. And if you're not going to unify the belts, and none of the other champions really show much interest in unifying the belts against him, so it don't make sense. Well, Eddie Hearn is now coming out because they had the opportunity. They dropped the ball. Jaron Ennis and his team dropped the ball on the Brian Norman situation. And they dropped the ball on so many different levels because the IBF stated that if they did try to pursue, now that's a fight, if they did try to pursue the negotiations they had with Brian Norman at that time in the summer, then they would have been stripped because they didn't do the necessary paperwork and the necessary steps to inform them that they're going to unify the belts before the mandatory was already ordered. So they could not fight Brian Norman anyway, right? So Brian Norman was still looking for $300,000 extra dollars they wasn't willing to pay. Well, now Eddie Hearn is stating that he's willing to pay the necessary money to secure and guarantee that he fights Brian Norman Jr. in his next fight. Well, Brian Norman has a fight coming up, and or the WBA champion, Amanda Stanionis, in his next fight, who's 15 wins, no loss, no draw, 9 wins by way of knockout, 30 years of age, 5'8" with a 68-inch arm reach. Or Brian Norman, who is 26 wins, no loss, no draw, 20 knockout at 22 years of age, 5'8" with a 72-inch arm reach. So, excuse me, he's 24 years of age, excuse me. So, they stated that, Eddie Hearn is stating that he can, guarantee one of those fights for Jaron Ennis next in Philadelphia, Las Vegas. And the thing is, Stanionis has a fight, a mandatory coming up, but his mandatory is a matchroom fighter that they're willing to pay step-aside money to make the fight happen with Jaron Ennis. So hopefully we can see Jaron Ennis versus Stanionis next, because the fighter that's the mandatory for Stanionis is Eddie Hearn's fighter, and they're looking to pay him step-aside money. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all in one word. If he don't get one of those champions, he will be criticized to the heavens. Peace.